Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it's here, Attican. I am right in front of the Georgia Capitol building once again, and right behind me is Atlanta City Hall, Atlanta, capital of Georgia. CBS 46 local news station is here as well. I got a couple vans uh, parked out, and very recently, I believe they convened shortly after 2. So within the past hour or so, the state electors for the state of Georgia cast their votes for Joe Biden. And I see a lot of the cheerleaders are very quiet on Twitter. I call them cheerleaders, these people that they don't really teach you anything new, but they kind of just you rah rah for Trump, and their whole shtick, their whole career is based on cheering for Trump, which is fine if people do that. They are at liberty to do so, but public intel is still the answer. And Sidney Powell definitely did not fill in the right bubble on the test. And what I mean by that is the non-disclosure of certain facts about uh, their amicus briefs and affidavits, their source, who George, I believe, went over earlier today, named Spider, a ex-military intelligence officer, agent, formerly at Fort Huachuca. It just doesn't look good when you can't identify who is bringing this evidence forward. Now, there is obviously the threat of intimidation that many people have attested to, and violence, but when the integrity of the Constitution is on the line, I think that, you know, I think the risk is worth it. It should be for people in these positions. But recently, just learned that Nevada cast their six electoral votes for Trump. That being said, let me go over what Trump has. Kentucky, Ohio, North Carolina, no surprise there. Biden, again, this is flipped. This says Nevada, but I just learned that Nevada went Trump, excuse me. Arizona, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Georgia, Maryland, New York, Delaware, Rhode Island, Connecticut. An addendum to the Pennsylvania note, both in Pennsylvania, I think it was just Pennsylvania, they are having a alternative GOP electors cast their votes for Trump. I don't know what that is going to do. It seems to be more of a protest show, a show of protest than anything else. But it's, I had this inkling a couple days ago as well, but it's kind of like end of the second half of the fourth quarter, end of the game, and you're down 30, right? And I do think that not a lot of people know what's going on, but the question is what happens next. I think secession is on the table for sure, and of course, there's always the last option, which is trial by sword, which we none of us wanted to get to that. But in Wisconsin, my home state, they were split. And here's Atlanta Hall here, getting a bit of a nose drip here. It's pretty chilly here in downtown Atlanta. In Wisconsin, it was 3-3 Republican justices to Democratic justices, and one rhino who is voting not for the Republican Party. But they did take away some votes there. But if it's not swaying, because it's so close in Wisconsin, if it's not swaying the whole electoral college, then it's not really worth anything. It's worth for naught. in this winner-take-all scenario, with the exceptions of Maine and Nebraska, of course. But here I will get the nice backdrop of the Gold Dome, the Masonic Gold Dome here in Georgia. And you also got, his name is CJ Pearson or CJ McPherson, young black lad who's kind of he's kind of a cheerleader too, or like a, you know, it's just a cheerleader for the Republicans, which is totally cool. I think they need guys like that reporting on his Twitter of an alternative electoral ballot casting going on as well in, I believe it was Arizona. But again, is this really worth anything legally? No, not really, as far as I can tell. And it just adds to the confusion that this sort of information that you have to sift through. But if secession does come, which I believe Texas called for a few days ago, at least the preliminary stages of it, it's going to muddy up the whole situation come January. And the ballots for the electors will be unsealed on the 6th of January. So we, the public, will be able to see officially what those were. And of course, the run for the Senate is still going on. So those, again, those 2 Senate seats are still up for grabs. So say Biden does complete the coup, he completes the steal, he steals home. We're continuing with these sports metaphors here. He steals home as we're down 10 in the bottom of the 9th, full count, 2 outs. But the Republicans have control of the Senate and the House. What's going to happen? Well, I think it's really hard to predict just because the influx of rhinos. But I still think the Georgia Senate race is going to be very key to really slowing down the Democrats. And putting up my Amber Connor feature, the lovely Miss Amber Connor, and I did a great collaboration yesterday that I am almost finished annotating, and that should be up tonight. I'll try to get up at prime time, 8 to 10-ish. Make sure I'm not cutting into anybody else's shows either, but it's not looking good. If you are a Trumper, if you want to see this be a free and fair fight, but again, it's I'm just at the point where it's like we'll see, right? We will see what's going to happen. So there you have it, folks. Georgia Capitol, House of Reps, the greatest steal in the world is almost complete, unfortunately. And I know people don't want to hear that, but somebody's got to say it. And some people are saying it, but they are a minority. Now, there's this tactic that I was discussing with a source here in Atlanta last night, and that's this idea of kind of holding your aces up your sleeve or not showing them until it reaches the highest court in the land. But as far as I can tell, that is not the strategy to go with because, it's a public intelligence strategy. It's a noun, but it's also a process which was not followed by Sidney Powell or that buffoon, Rudy Giuliani. And I'm still not ruling out them being paid actors. I mean, the first time I heard somebody say good things about Sidney Powell was from an ex-spook, someone who used to work for the CIA. Used to. So, thinking about that and just the way that she has behaved, it just seems like I could have done a better job than she did. Certainly than Giuliani, but, and we've been hammering this home, too, with the Serbia IP addresses, and they're talking about Venezuela because of some sort of socialist or leftist slant. it's just it's quite disappointing. But I guess some bright news is, of course, they wait till after the election. The Hunter Biden blackberries are in the news again as of, I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before that. And again, George has been talking about this for years. We were talking about this months ago, not just the blackberries, but the Burisma connection, which you're going to learn more about tonight, thanks to Miss Amber. So there's a bright spot there, but again, they waited till after the election to release this information. Yeah, once again, dead people, felons, minors, old and incompetent people voting. You know, the mail-in fraud, but again, the voter fraud is not. It's a lot more blatant, a lot more easy to spot, but not as important as the election fraud, the Dominion system, because that's the choke point, is the voting system itself, which they have control over. And it was tested, I believe, in Utah in 2018. You'll see more on that later tonight with Amber's interview. But not great news, not news that people want to hear. But again, we will see. We'll see what's going to happen. This is new territory, I think, for all of us in many ways. The question is, how is the right going to respond once they realize, because humans have this tendency for wishful thinking, once they realize that this is not going through a due process, they don't want to hear, the Supreme Court doesn't want to hear any of these cases, how will they respond as Fox 5 drives away? I didn't even see Fox here, but you know, I think they saw me reporting and then they showed up. That's what happened. Will they organize in some sort of free militia way? I mean, I'm sure they have behind the scenes, but I made this prediction actually in January. I was in Europe and I was having a meal with a couple people, one of whom was a government employee for a certain nation. And I was talking about the possibility of the next civil war wouldn't be left and right or grays versus blues. It would be some degree of anarchy, such that there are multiple factions competing for the will to power, the right to control. Although you would, I think, see it converging, either towards the end or towards the beginning. A convergence and divergence, I think would happen. But again, we don't want it to get to that. But I just wonder, because the left is the ones who have been using violence and intimidation quite blatantly this year, whereas the right, the instances of that have been negligent, to say the least. Yeah, it's a crosswalk, Kevin. I'm right in the corner of Washington and Mitchell, with Capitol building right behind me. But one thing I do know for sure is the deep state is going to milk this chaos as long as they can. There's the Masonic Dome. Order out of chaos is the one of their mottos. Order out of chaos. And no doubt, regardless of what happens, we're going to see some chaos. I think come January, little, you know, once holiday season concludes, I think, you know, once that runoff happens, the ballots are unsealed on the 6th, inauguration on the 20th. There will be some sort of chaos. So that's how I see things unfolding right now. What about 2024 though? Because I think we should talk a little bit further into the future as well, because you know, it's like, speaking of thinking ahead and strategizing, I think meditation really helps with this. And not being like a confused soldier on the field, but being the general and seeing the big picture related to meditation. I concluded that, well, somebody shared this idea and I thought it was interesting. Let's put it that way. Once there was like a picture of a blonde girl on Time magazine doing meditation. That's when you knew meditation had gone mainstream. So another silver lining here, people. We got to keep positive. I saw a video of a young lady, very good-looking lady, blonde, blonde-haired girl, and she had woken up. It seemed like, to everything that's going on, and I think that's a great sign. You know, once the young blonde ladies are trying to spread the word, whether it's grifting or not, I think that shows that the young people are starting to get on board with everything that is happening. And I think that's partially because of the sheer length of time that this whole situation has been going on, this military lockdown. Well, not military lockdown, but soft lockdown, we'll call it. And you know, we're nearing the end of the year. We got a couple weeks left in this ridiculous year, 2020. And I think people are starting to question where before they weren't, starting to lose their patience where before they were not. And I think it's good to see young people waking up too, because, you know, and the grifting thing, it's like, you know, it's annoying, but, you know, as long as people are waking up to it, right? Grifting's part of the game. You got to deal with it. And, you know, maybe do a little grifting yourself when time calls for it. But silver lining there does seem to be that people are waking up a little bit by little bit. But back to 2024, what is the end game? What is the end game? If Biden, who is going to die soon, probably 8 years, I don't think so. They're gonna want to take him out after the end of 4, and this is something Amber talks about too, is the Romney connection, the Mitt Romney connection. And she has had Romney in her reticle for quite some time, and we'll go into those connections later. But she postulates that that's what the Republicans want, is these rhinos on both sides, I think, are using the liberals to get Biden in so that they can swing back and get someone of their own in, some rhino like Romney. Because I don't think anybody seriously believes that Joe Biden is going to be reelected, or that he will even be the president for the whole first term, or the whole first term. So just thinking about that in the long view. But then, say Biden does win, there's Trump. Trump's still in the game, right? He can still run for another term. How does that work? How does that pan out? It's not like Trump's just going to lose his support. If anything, it'll grow stronger. Especially given everything that's happened with the, I think, blatant evidence of fraud, voter fraud and election fraud. I think people will become more and more disenfranchised with the Democrats. I just don't understand these people who vote for him and don't look at the war. If you want to be a simple Simon, look at war. Make war the issue, okay? Why do you think the military-industrial complex wants Trump out of office? Because he has peace in the Middle East growing. He wants troops out of these foreign mercenary wars, and that's going to cost them a lot of money. And very basic issue, very simple issue, but it's not enough for these Trump derangement people, man. It's hypnosis is what it is, and we just got to keep going, keep persuading people to look at the facts, and just keep marching forward. So some silver lining there, but not great news, not what we want to hear. But again, we'll see, folks. Stay frosty.